Wow, here we are, the first day of February, and our first open conversation of the month. Awesome. Gerald won't be with us today, so he sends his apologies, and hopefully he'll be back next week. We've got a great topic this February 1st. It we're calling it. Let me get it right here because I've been saying it different ways in my head. Celebrating success, and that's a big thing for me. I really like celebrating success. We were talking before the session, and I just shared a big success in grocery shopping. So, I've done my celebration for today. Anyway, we'll do some introductions first to let everybody know who we are for those who haven't been here before. Cass, I'll start with you, and along with your normal introduction, share a thing that you're celebrating.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Cass J. Henry. I am an abundance coach working out of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I offer my services both in person and virtually. As an abundance coach, it's my job to assist my clients in changing their perspective from one of lack to one of abundance. And together we'll discover the power of tools like affirmations, habit creation, mindset work, goal setting, experimentation, and journaling, just to name a few, with an overarching goal to achieve a more harmonious balance in life. If you find yourself feeling stuck and focusing on everything going wrong in your world right now, then reach out and let's do a discovery call. See if we're a good fit. I'd love the opportunity to show you the abundance in your life right now. You can find me on Cass J. Henry. And that's one of the things I'm celebrating right now. I have a new website and a new focus, and it's a new year. So I'm going with it. I'm celebrating all this newness.
CassJHenry.com. You
Yeah,
missed that, but just to be
sorry.
sure. Yeah, and that's just awesome. I love it.
Yeah, that is
And
absolutely awesome.
it's a rebirth going on here. It's amazing. Shelly Ann, go ahead
Yeah.
and do share your celebration.
All right. So I am Shelly Ann Edwards Barron from Trinidad and Tobago, and I am a gratitude guide and habit coach. And I work with my clients who are, they have their goals, they have everything set, they know what they're heading to, and then they just can't seem to get it done. The habits aren't lining up. So what I do is to start them off with a daily habit of gratitude. I call it the gratitude strategy. And we work with saying it right, which is the self talk and managing that. We work with saying it loud, which is making it tangible. And we work with saying it always, which is where the habit comes in, because gratitude happens to be a really solid keystone habit that you can build other habits around that help you get to where you want to be. Because somehow at 40, I tell you, it's like a light bulb goes off and you think, okay, what have I accomplished in my life? And sometimes we don't always like what we see when we start doing that kind of introspection. So if you want to, get it done, my program on YouTube that I do every Thursday morning as well is called Getting It Done with Gratitude. And we explore all kinds of ways gratitude can be infused into your life so that you can enjoy your journey while you are accomplishing your goals, which fits quite nicely into celebrating success. And for me, have quite a few things to celebrate. I think the one that I would mention, I'll mention two because both of them happened yesterday and they're fresh in my mind. One of them is that I'm doing a professional development workshop for teachers. I also do writing training for kids. And so I train teachers how to teach that as well, to do what I do. And so I met with a group of teachers. This workshop is going to be in April, but I like to meet with clients first. And when I walked into the room, one of the teachers, she pointed at me and she said, I follow you on YouTube.
That's wonderful.
And that just really sort of, I didn't know how to respond to that because I also do a live on a Tuesday sharing about writing tips and writing narratives and things for teachers who are working with students and parents as well. And she follows my channel. And that I felt when, after the meeting and everything, my husband looked at me, said, I follow you too. It was such an amazing feeling having, being recognized like that. And then the other thing, a parent messaged me. She had called because she was kind of frantic. Time is running out. The exam that we're preparing for is the 21st of March, and she doesn't know how to help her son. And she saw I have some things and for sale, and how can she use them? And so by the time we were finished the conversation, she was a lot calmer. And she said, "Okay, I'll take the stuff and I'll try them out and I'll let you know." And she messaged me yesterday to say, "I haven't even gone through half of it and I'm seeing his marks improving already. Thank you so much." And those two things just totally made my day yesterday.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I know a couple of the other ones that you're not sharing, and they're awesome too. You've had a really wonderful first month of the year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so much to be thankful for. And I know you practice gratitude. You mentioned speaking it out loud. That is so critical. Cass and I
Hmm.
were talking about that the other day,
Yeah.
and how when you put voice to something, it changes the dynamic somehow, and it is powerful. Um, who am I? My name is Stephen B. Henry. My friends call me Steve. I'm a multi niched coaching practitioner, a published author, a digital content creator. I do online presence consulting. I'm a business success guide and a personal development mentor. Keeps me busy with all those things, but they all intertwine. I see myself as a holistic practitioner. Um, it's very, very difficult to niche down on any one of those things without having, if you're going to focus on that and that's all you're going to do, then you're going to have to call in other people to handle these other areas because they're so intrinsic to each other. That's there. I work with men and women who are wanting to start or expand their online presence. I help them get unstuck in their personal and business lives so they can move forward with their online journey of success. Um, and I guess my ICANN mission statement says it best: to give as much value as I can to as many as I can, as often as I can, for as long as I can. And as I also often say, the time to hire your guide is before you get lost in the woods. So, with that, we're going to jump into our uh, celebrating success, the
Wait a minute.
celebrations.
Did you say what you're celebrating?
Oh, didn't I do that? I did not. Thank you for catching me on that. Um, I'm actually celebrating two things. The first one is that I've opened my newest project in January. I was working really hard to get it launched in January. I unofficially launched it on the 19th and I officially launched it on the 31st. So I'm going to be doing promotion for it in the next 7 to 10 days. And it is a holistic life coaching certification program. And you can find it at holistic with a W, holisticlifecoaching.org. And I'm really pleased to get that together. It was a real labor of love to bring all the pieces together. It's not easy. And so that was my big success in January. And I have announced that I'm launching my second program of the year today. It's not ready yet. I've ran into a couple of snags. So I have from when I get off of this call until midnight to get it launched today. And I'm working at it. I'm pretty close. So if you don't hear from me about that today, I'll be celebrating it tomorrow because I'm that close. So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it's and I'm feeling very positive and very celebratory about it because it got put together really between the 19th of January and now, and even the idea for it came on the 19th. So that's a real fast pace for me for anything, and it's just a good feeling when you accomplish something, you put it together and make it happen. So let's talk about why we celebrate and what celebration is, and the whole idea of it in the scheme of things in terms of coaching. Who wants to jump in first?
Hmm.
Don't everybody
There's,
go at once.
yeah, there's so much to say. I have to choose.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
I
to
know.
choose. I know for me, before we get into, like what it is and why it's important, um, I I do want to talk a little bit about what it's like not celebrating because that is what it was for me. So this whole idea of remembering what happened and being able to celebrate it and say it out loud is not something that I grew up doing, and it's not like typical everyday, behavior for me. And it's something that I had to learn. And so I know for those who are listening and you're thinking, we celebrate birthdays, we celebrate these huge milestones, but the kind of success that we're talking about celebrating here are the little things as well, the various steps on the journey. And so that wasn't always something that was a part of my practice. And so I remember I think it was one of our colleagues, Kelly, who had mentioned it to me. We were having a chat and she said, "But you should celebrate that." And my thought was, yeah, but it's done and I'm moving on to something else because my mind is now on this other thing. And so, yeah, it's nice. I'm happy I did it and that's enough. And she said, "No, no, no, that's that's not enough. You need to, speak about it, pause a moment and appreciate what you've done and think about the fact that you did it." And so that kind of, brought everything home to me. And then I told her, I said, "But I don't remember half of what happened yesterday and the day before." She said, "That's why you need to write it down." And so since then, and it's something that I've incorporated into my life. So even though I do gratitude, which is I appreciate these things that I have and what exists, I still didn't take it the next step to appreciate what I had accomplished and the things that were happening awesome in my life as I'm going on the journey. And so what I do now is, in addition to the gratitude in the morning, what I do is to pause a moment to look back at the previous day. So I remembered those two things to share because this morning when I did my gratitude list, I also looked back at yesterday and wrote down three things that I am celebrating and that I am proud of. And so that's a practice now for me along with the gratitude. And that's how come it was so fresh on my mind that I remembered it today.
Mm, awesome. Yeah, it's we when we think about celebrating success, we often think only about big achievements, and in many cases, we do move on quickly from big achievements. Oh, we got it done, we're finished. Well, and then something else takes our attention. But
Hmm.
it's little things too that we can celebrate. When I wrote my first nonfiction book, oh my, it's 14 years ago. Um, uh, it's called Wiz's 10 Steps to Focusing on Your Objectives. And I have 10 chapters, and one of them that I cover is about rewarding yourself. And it's really celebrating success. And in that chapter, I talk at length about little things. When you're trying to get a letter written and you just don't know what to say, and you're playing with it and you're going to chat gpt for help, and it's just not coming the way you wanted, and you can't seem to get the chat gpt prompt right to give you back what you need, and you're frustrated, and then finally you get it all together and you send it. Hey, great, stop and get a fresh cup of coffee, and go kiss your spouse, have one of your favorite chocolates that you've set aside, like whatever it is, little thing for little things. You don't have to have a big, banners and balloons and confetti party. You can do it yourself, and just a little thing to say, I nailed that, and it feels good. It also gives you the break. It gets you up out of your chair. You get that little bit of exercise back into your legs before you come and sit down for the next task. Clears your mind. You're ready to go. So, the purpose of celebrating your success isn't just party time. It's part of the whole of what you're doing. And when you work that, as Shelley Ann has said, you had to learn it. You had to get
Yeah,
motivation from external sources, and that's Kelly, boy. She'll put a pin on it for you. And
exactly.
yeah, and so it's so good that we have these support people out there that share with us. And that's why I'm always saying, the time to hire your guide is before you get lost in the woods. You want to have a coach, you want to have a community, you want to have associates, professional associates, that are going to be there to help you and suggest things, and they're going to spot things that you're not spotting. We're coaches. Our job is to look at other people and find those things that we can help them with. Sometimes we
Hmm.
do that at the expense of finding ourselves.
Yeah.
And, that's where we want to look. Cass, you're nodding. You probably got wisdom for us.
Yeah, it was just, I really liked your examples. I had a couple other little examples, things like simple things like having a long soak in the bath with candles and incense and a bath bomb. That can be a celebration. You're doing self care. You're taking care of yourself as a way of
Mm.
acknowledging that you've done something great that you wanted to accomplish. But it can even be take yourself to Paris, not because you wrote a letter, but it could be, an accomplishment, something that you've been working through the steps and stages of, and you've accomplished it, and now you're going to celebrate in a big way. Like that's okay too. When there's a whole spectrum in between that are appropriate depending on what you're celebrating.
And even if
Um,
it's just Paris, Ontario, right?
I don't know what I do in Paris, Ontario. Uh, I think one of the things that I like to bring up with celebration is mindfulness. The idea that the celebration is in the now. The accomplishment happened now. Celebrate it now. It's okay if you're, like I said, take a trip to Paris. You're planning something big. You're doing something, but in that moment, you want to connect your celebration with the
Hmm.
feeling that you've just felt when you accomplish something,
Mm.
and so you want that to be in the now. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and go
didn't
ahead.
we just talk about connection a week or two ago? That's so true. These things they interlace, and celebration needs to connect with the item you're celebrating. You don't want to schedule it 6 months from now as something that you'll fit in later. That's important. I like that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking actually both. So you do a little happy dance now. You do the bath bomb and the soak now. And then depending on how you feel about the accomplishment and how major it is for you, go to Paris as well. So
Yeah. And
I'm
Paris can
thinking
be a
both.
celebration for several things for the whole year of accomplishments.
Absolutely.
You can
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
that big thing. So don't be afraid of it. It returns so much value in what you're doing too.
Hmm. Oh yeah, when it comes to celebration, I mean, for me, before I didn't know how it felt and what it meant. I used to think that it was, people who took the time to celebrate were just extra. Oh, they have time for that. They have time to spend on all these things. I've got stuff to do, so I would just move through it and continue. But then, you lose steam really quickly when you're doing it like that, when you're just plowing through and not stopping for the gratitude and stopping for the celebration. And so that's what happened. Burnout was a thing. And, I would get up wondering, I used to enjoy this. Why do I hate it now? And those kinds of things. And that's what celebration does. It actually allows you to enjoy the things that you enjoy and pause in the moment to enjoy it. And so you feel motivated and you feel encouraged to keep going.
You just made me think of, while you were talking, the process of making tea. All the little things that you need to do, depending on what
Ah,
kind of kettle you have, plug it in, or fill it with water first, I guess, plug it in, wait for it, get your mug ready, get your tea ready, however you're going to get that ready. You go through this whole process, you do all the steps, you've got the tea in the mug, and you walk away. Well, now
Yeah.
you've accomplished your task. You've completed it. You did the whole
mhm.
thing. You did all the steps. So now you walk away and you go do something else. The celebration is the drinking of the tea and enjoying that moment,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
feeling it warm you and tasting it. That's the celebration,
Hmm.
right? So you need to do more than just all the steps of your accomplishment. You have to
yeah,
get to that, infusing yourself with the celebration of what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's critical to have a way of looking at it that is like that. That's awesome. I had not heard the tea analogy before, and it is a good one. Everybody take note.
yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely fits because, and that is what I learned when I stopped to think about it and then stopped to feel it, because it goes beyond just thinking. We incorporate feeling into the whole celebration. So we're not checking a box, okay, now I've celebrated, check, and I can move on. It's really about feeling it and allowing it to permeate. And so, like when you drink tea, especially if it's chilly out and you have that tea, you feel the warmth going through you, and you just, exactly. That's, I don't know what the word is for that, Cass, but that's exactly it.
Yeah. That's great. One of the problems with celebrations, especially the little ones that we're talking about now, I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I can't find the time for that," and other people say, "Oh,
I was one.
I'll have to make time for that, later on." I've had some wonderful coaches over the years. I've always had a coach or a mentor, sometimes two. Once I had three at the same time. That's elegant luxury. Um, and they were all very good ones. They all shared with me on a personal level, and gave me more than anything I paid them ever accounted for. It was just awesome what I got. And I had one coach who said to me, "What do you mean you can't find the time?" And she started picking up things, looking under the bottle, looking under the cup, looking under the book. Yeah, I don't see any either. And I thought, what the heck? She crazy? And she said, "You don't find time. We all have exactly the same amount of time. There's no difference. You can't find time. And you don't make time. Time exists. It's what it is. Nobody can make time. You take the time. You schedule it done." And that just changed my perspective. Cass, you mentioned before we just got started, you mentioned change, different perspective. That little episode with my coach just totally changed my perspective on time, and it ceased to be a battle.
Hmm.
It became
Yeah.
an exercise. Yeah.
You couldn't have set the story up better. I just saw this quote this morning about Steve Jobs. Uh, his daughter says that on his deathbed, he said, "I wish I'd had more time to spend with you." And her response was, "You just would have worked." At
Mm.
the end of our lives, we all wish we had more time, right? To do the things we would have done, which is absolutely absurd because we did do the things that we would have done with that time. We had the time and we spent it the way that we chose to, right?
Hmm.
So, are you doing the things that makes your heart sing? If you're not, find more. Do more of the things that you want to be doing. Whatever that is, do more of them and celebrate them. Because you're right, we all have that same time and it's
Mhm.
how we spend it. And sure, it's a place of privilege to say that you can choose everything you do. For sure, there's work and responsibilities and family and things that you have to do. But there is time,
Mhm.
Hmm.
right? There is time to do
And
what you
even the
want to do.
things you have to do, because okay, if you have bills to pay and you have this job and you're doing it, the time that you choose to do it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to feel painful. It doesn't have to feel distressing. There will be distressing moments. We're not denying that for sure. But when you approach things with a different attitude and you look at it differently, it feels different because even the things that you love the most could get to a point where it's absolutely distressing to you. And I'll give you a personal example. I no longer eat chocolate ice cream as a choice. Let me choose chocolate ice cream because there was a time I was obsessed with chocolate ice cream and I think I ate too much. And one day I ate so much that I got sick with eating too much ice cream. And now my memory of chocolate ice cream is me being sick. And so I've learned that there is such a thing as too much of a good thing or
Mhm.
too much of the thing that we love. You can be smothered in the things that you love as well. So it's really not a matter of I don't enjoy this, that's why. It really is the attitude and how much you fill your space with it.
Yeah,
And so it is a balance. It is a choice to enjoy it enough. And I love that word enough. I am enough, we're all enough, and we have enough. It really is.
that's exactly what Cass is getting to with her new personification as an abundance coach. We have enough. We have abundance in our life, even when we think we lack. And I think what makes it work is the word that you used there, I think, three times in that presentation: choice. We
Mhm.
have to be able to make choices. And getting to making a choice is a choice, but it's an effort for many people. They spend so much time. Should I do? Should I do? What about where? And you go back and forth on it, and you never actually make the choice. At some point, you got to make the choice. And
Yeah.
when it comes to celebrations, what we celebrate is because of making a choice, because of doing something. We chose to do it, and we succeeded at it. And we maybe didn't consciously choose to succeed, but subconsciously that's what we want, certainly, and that's what our subconscious mind pushes us towards, is success, which is different things to different people. And so we are choosing to succeed, and when we get to that point, we need to choose to celebrate our success. And our life is full of choices. uh,
Mhm.
I've taught many people that, and I think that's one of the best things that I taught my kids, was to make choices. Not dither around it forever, but make a choice. And I tried never to punish my kids for making the wrong choice. I tried to show them what they might have done instead, an alternate choice. But the act of making the choice itself was something to celebrate, because so many people, especially young people, kids growing up, follow the crowd. They don't make choices. They don't step away. They don't, set what Gerald would call the sense of direction,
Mhm.
and they don't make the choices, and so they end up with little to celebrate. And when we make choices, we open the door for success. And if it doesn't work, make a different choice. We have
Yeah.
that flexibility, and sometimes we get so caught up in the things around us that bind us, and we sometimes have to choose to step outside of those bounds and make difficult choices, maybe, but make choices, and then we'll have
Mhm.
something to celebrate.
Yeah. And I think that's where having coaches and mentors and communities come in because it's sometimes I know for me, I couldn't see a lot of it. And when you're in the midst of something, even when you think your eyes are opened or they're opening, you still can only see it from your perspective. And until your perspective opens up, and even when it opens up, you're still going to see it from your perspective. So, having others to see it from alternate perspectives so that you can get that wider breadth of feeling and understanding is, I think, very valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm repeating anything because I missed that little bit there. I made a choice to take a phone call that was about my new living situation, which I'm celebrating right now. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about abundance here. The idea that when you focus on what you already have rather than what you don't have, you're shifting your focus from the outside to
Mhm.
the inside, and you're inviting the idea of plenty into your life. There is enough for everyone, there is enough for you. And um, when you are looking at abundance, celebration is a form of abundance too. It ends up increasing your motivation to do other things because there's a dopamine hit there when you celebrate. So you've done a thing, you celebrate it, you get that dopamine hit, you want to do another thing so that you can celebrate it so that you can get that dopamine hit. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
And I think there's an Oprah Winfrey quote. Uh, the more you praise and celebrate in your life, then the more there is to celebrate in life. Right? It's like a loop that fills itself. You see the
Mhm.
things, you
Mhm.
acknowledge and notice the things. Hey, wait, this is a moment to celebrate. Maybe I just have that little dance and make myself feel good, or maybe I do something more. But yeah, the more you see it, the more there is to see of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that, things are new things are happening. Sometimes it's that, but sometimes it's just, recognizing the things that are there that you can celebrate. And that's why it's so important to, you know, take the time and do these things. And I know for me, when I had just started, because it didn't feel natural, and because I had gotten so accustomed to moving on too quickly, and not pausing to celebrate, I had to consciously decide, okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes here. I'm going to take 10 minutes here. And it could start in as small as 1 minute. I'm going to pause 1 minute and celebrate this, and then incrementally you increase as you go. And then you would start noticing more to celebrate. And you take another minute here, another minute there. And then eventually it becomes part of your life and part of your practice to celebrate. But in the beginning, it can feel really, really strange. When I tell you, I cannot stress that enough. When you're going from what's next, that whole mindset of I have to do more and I have to get more done. And, the only accomplishment is the next one to be accomplished. When you're moving from that to, hey, this is cool. I actually got this done and let me enjoy that, it feels like the weirdest, craziest thing happening.
Dr.
Yeah, I
Wayne,
think it's
Dr. Wayne
important. Oh, go
Dyer,
ahead.
yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer dealt with that in a phrase that he quoted many, many times. Um, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at
Hmm.
change. Uh, Subtle, but very, very true. And that's just what you expressed there, the idea that you change the way you look at it as just something to accomplish and move on to the next something into an accomplishment that you can celebrate. And it's a subtle change, but
Yeah,
it, 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 it allows you to celebrate life.
yeah.
If you're struggling, if you have depression, if you're seeing a therapist and you're making these steps, sometimes they tell you things like celebrate the little things, as in I got up today, I showered today, I got dressed and I made it to work today. Those are things that if they're a struggle and you accomplished them, you can celebrate those too. It's okay to have a celebration for something that feels mundane, for something that feels like, yeah, but that everybody does that. Well, if it was a struggle for you, that's okay to celebrate it. You accomplished something that was hard.
Yeah,
And
and
the more that you learn those skills to celebrate them, the more that you'll realize that you have to celebrate.
yeah, and I think for me, what it was as well is recognizing that no, not everybody does it. And it is hard sometimes. It really is hard sometimes to, get up out of the bed. And when you're dealing with, like you mentioned, depression and so on. For me it was anxiety, and is because it's something that I manage. It's still there, and I manage it much more effectively now because of all the practice and the skills and the coaching and the support that I've been getting. And so it's not everybody does it. And I I wanted to mention that simply because when when we think that everybody does it but we don't, that in and of itself creates a problem. And so recognizing no, not everybody does it, because I didn't, and I'm a buddy, I'm a somebody, right? And so, but I'm getting it done now, and I'm happy about that, and I can celebrate that. And sometimes it is it is okay to feel what you're feeling and where you are, and it is also okay to move on from that with help. And so the with help part was hard for me too, just recognizing that I couldn't do it alone. I couldn't just, um make the decision and get it done. And it's so funny because I think that's what led to the name of the program that I work with my other colleague. To That's why we settled on getting it done with gratitude, because I used to feel that I just had to get it done. That was the important thing, not the joy of doing it, not the celebration of it coming at the end. I just needed to get it done because this is what people do, and I have to just get it done. And that was the only thing that I was focusing on. And so moving through that and being able to see that, hey, it's not just about getting it done. You can enjoy this too. You can pause and celebrate. And not everybody does it. Some people struggle too. And so you can get support with this. You can reach out. There are people who can help you. And that entire thing was a process that led to the understanding that celebration is good. It was an entire process. And that is something that I celebrate every day, because yeah, I got up today and I got out today and I got my classes done. At the end of the day, I always tell my kids, I made it through today and I'm happy
You've made
about
it.
that.
Mhm.
You've made it through 100% of all the days up till today, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an achievement, in
Yeah.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
big
Yeah. Yeah.
achievement, and we tend to let it slide, brush it aside, and not important. But that's worth celebrating. Any day is worth celebrating as being making it through 100% of all the days you've made it through.
Mm.
It's just, you know sometimes we cover these topics in our conversations, and I think maybe some people expect there to be some eureka moment in here, that there's a whole lot of magic and different things, and sometimes it's pretty mundane stuff. It just is, and we cover in our conversation, we cover a lot of examples, a lot of big things, little things about all these topics, because we want to show you, dear listener, we want to show you that there's meaning here in all these little things, and they all come together. They all hold hands, intertwine fingers, make these things become a reality. And yeah, sure, some of them you're going to find easy, some of them you're going to find hard, some of them you're not going to do at all, some of them you're not going to need at all, and some of them you're not going to want at all. You have all of those freedoms. That's the amazing thing about our lives, that we have choices. We have the ability to do these things. And for the most part, it doesn't matter where we live or what our socioeconomic situation is, we have opportunities if we'll just pause for a moment and look at the abundance that we have, not the
Mhm.
things we think we need, and then build from there, go from there. It's when you do it, when you practice it, and these things start to happen to you, and you understand what's going on, um, it's awesome. It's an amazing
Yeah.
breakthrough in life, and uh, you get to feel and express the wonder of it. And there is so much wonder available to us if we'll just open our eyes, open our hearts, open our minds, and see it around us. We block it off so easily. We put up barriers and wall ourselves into a little cocoon of sorts, a silo it's often referred to, and it isn't good for us. It's
Mhm.
so easy to do that, and it's so harmful to us. We need to make that little extra effort to find those things that we can celebrate and start with the ones that are right there in your life. And if all you can do is say, I breathe, my heart beats, and I think, I can celebrate that. That's a starting
Yeah.
point. And then you will build on that as you go forward. And most of us are at a better place than that. So if someone can start with just that and build, then where we are, we can build as well. And I don't know about other people, but I'm learning new things every day of my life. I look forward to the opportunity to learn. I experience both good and bad things in my life, annoying things and wonderful things. And you look for the wonderful, and you find out how to deal with the annoying, and you move forward.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, one day you're opening your eyes, and here's things that you hadn't expected or that come out of the blue that are really, really positive. Cass, I'm just enthralled by your story of your living situation and the change you're making. And it's not my place to go into it at all here, but I just really feel that that was a outcome, a sum total, if you will, of mindset and attitude and gratitude and speaking it, out loud, and various things that you can nail down a pattern that resulted in something wonderful. And I just feel that many of us, and I know I've done this myself in my own life, we kind of build that silo around us and try to function in an enclosed area that doesn't allow us to reach out and branch out and touch others. And when we start to share with others, and that's a two-way street. When I look back on the mentors that I've had, in sharing with them, they gave me so much value. But it had to be a two-way street. I had to be
Mhm.
open to it. I had to ask them. I had to speak to them. I had to connect with them first. And I've often talked about the one mentor that I had that traveled all over the world. And he, when we first started out, I wasn't getting it. He was trying to help me with things, and I just wasn't listening. I was young, and I, had had a lot of experience and thought I knew the answers, and I knew nothing. It was, it was minuscule what I had achieved, even though I thought I'd achieved a lot. And he used to send me postcards from all over the world, beautiful pictures, spectacular pictures, the kind of postcards you get at airports around the world. And he would put a really nice stamp on them. I don't know, whether he'd make the effort to go to the post office or how he would do it, but many of the countries that he went to, the holiday resort places, celebrate by publishing beautiful stamps, flowers, birds, sceneries. And he would always put a beautiful stamp on it that I knew it was hand selected for the purpose. And the postcard would arrive with a corner torn off, and written on it, You're still not getting the whole picture. And that went on for quite a period of time. And when he was back in the area where I lived, and we would connect again and we'd talk, and then he'd go away and I'd get a postcard. You're still not getting the whole picture. And when those stopped, I felt such a sense of achievement that I had finally figured it out, not figured out everything that was to do, but figured out what I needed to do in order to embrace the picture and draw from it and bring it to myself. And I celebrated that time when I got a postcard that was complete. It had the corner still on it, and it had a message of encouragement. And I realized that I must have crossed some boundary of achievement that I had not expected or seen or whatever. And I celebrated because, I knew I'd made it to that point. Now I knew how to make it to the next point. And I've been making it point by point all my life. And I still do that. Well, Steve, aren't you successful? Aren't you where you want to be? Isn't everything cool? You can go sip margaritas, on the sandy beach in Trinidad. Um, I will be making more advancements all of my life. And I thrill at the ability to do that and to then share what I have learned with others to help them celebrate their own journey of success. Those what again what Gerald calls mile markers on the journey of success. Those are the points that you celebrate.
Yeah.
And
As you said that, it something occurred to me. The idea of celebrating and moving on, and as you said, you know, there's more to learn and more to do and more to grow because we're constantly, developing and becoming and so on. And if you take that from a negative perspective or the perspective of there's always something to do, as if something is missing, or there's always something more to accomplish, which means I don't have what I want now, then it could all be seen in a very, unhealthy and distressing kind of light. But the act of celebrating what you have and celebrating the big and the small and all those things makes it clear to me that I could fully enjoy and love what I have now and still have more to explore and more to become and more to do. And that is okay. It doesn't mean that what I have now is something that I shouldn't have or it's incomplete because I want more or because I want to do more. It's just because there's so much I already have and I'm happy and I'm enough now, but I wouldn't mind doing that too. So okay, I'm going to try that too.
yeah, yeah,
And so it puts you in a position of um the word enough is just over and over. I'm going to write that down. Something is coming out of me with enough that I have to explore a little bit more.
You just described the two states that I work with, right? The place
Yeah.
coming at it from a perspective of lack. I don't
Yes.
have. I need to do. There's more out there. I'm not getting. I'm all those pieces that are saying, well, I lack. And the
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
perspective of the exact same situation, that place of abundance. Look what I have.
Yeah.
Look what I
Yeah.
can do. Look what's available to me.
Yeah,
Oh,
look what I
there's
get
more?
to
That's
do.
great. I get to do more. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will
Yeah.
always be enough for everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an old dude. I've been around for a long time. I've still got color in my hair, which amazes me. But anyway, I'll celebrate that. But at my age, most people are doing nothing, and they're lost, and they don't really know what they want to do, and it's all been done and said, and like they're bored. A lot of people are like that. A few people are in control and do things. Some I have a friend who travels all over the continent in a motorhome, sold his house, bought a motorhome, and travels, retired, loves life, and that's awesome. Um, but not a lot of people do that, and it's sad. Um, I'm exploring my new project that's going to launch later today. Involves uh, artificial intelligence, in particular, ChatGPT. And at my age, I shouldn't be messing around with stuff like that, or so I've been told. That's for young people, but I'm doing it because I recognize that is the technology of today that's going to make changes. It may not be the thing that is the change, but it's certainly opening the door to change. And we need to look at those changes and embrace them and celebrate them as part of what we're doing. Three companies come to mind, big companies that most of us probably know of. Some of the younger people will have never heard of them, but Blockbuster. Before streaming video and
Yeah.
online movie services, Blockbuster was the single biggest entity delivering videotapes, VCR tapes, and then CDs. Some people today won't even know what a VCR was. Maybe a CD or a DVD. But we're beyond those things now, and Blockbuster is no more. And it went very quickly. Within a year or two, as I remember, it started its downfall and then it was gone. There were no more Blockbuster stores. And a few other players tried to fill in the gap and even, lease the old Blockbuster stores to continue with videos for a little while. But they're gone now. There's nobody out there. Are there still even Redbox machines? I mean, where you can get them. I don't know, but I can't think of seeing one for a long time. BlackBerry. BlackBerry was the original smartphone. It was an awesome tool, and it had so much more than the later smartphones had. It's gone. There's a movie about it. You can see it and see how they built and how they had the great success and how they lost it all. And they're gone. BlackBerry, big operation, located in I think Montreal, Canada, and sold product all over the world. And but technology changed. Apple came along with the smartphone, and it changed everything in that genre. And then Kodak. Kodak was the name in film, in cameras, in all kinds of things that dealt with photography. And they were huge. They were multinational around the globe. No more Kodak. What happened to them? Technology changed. They tried to adapt to the technology, the instant film, but they couldn't. And they were totally unprepared for digital, and they're gone. Three big multinational, well-known companies in their day, completely gone by a tiny technological change. And AI is one of those tiny changes that's coming along right now. And so we need to embrace it, but we also need to celebrate it, not push it away. That's another aspect of celebration, is we can draw things into our lives and take value from them, celebrating that value. It doesn't have to totally change our lives. We don't have to become, what are they calling them now, a prompt engineer. We got a term for people who
Wow.
write, prompts for AI.
Prompt engine. I have to write that down.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love it.
think about that. I mean, it's investing and infesting our our vocabularies, and it's going to be there. And a lot of people ask me, well, do you think AI is going to take my job? And I say, no, it's not. AI is not going to take your job. A person who learns to use AI effectively will. And it needs the personal part. We're not at the part. There'll be a new breakthrough in AI maybe 10 years from now that has all the things that we're afraid of right now. But we'll ease into that over the period of time. AI is not good. on its own. Look at the company that bought an AI chatbot to handle its tech support, and the chatbot went rogue on them and ruined their reputation. I mean, we're many people are jumping on this as if it's some great savior. It's not. It's a tool. And celebration is a tool in our arsenal, or in our toolbox, whatever you want to think of it as. And so we can celebrate good things, from little tiny things to great big things and everything in between.
Yeah.
A practical thing to do might be to have a list. Have a list of things that mean a celebration to you. What are those activities that when you do them, you know you're celebrating something. They're either special, they can be mundane, but whatever it is, you can just leave it on a list, so you can go to that and say, hey, this feels like this kind of celebration today. Or you can get fun and crafty, and you can cut up your list and put it in a jar, and you can randomly have a choice of what celebration is.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of fun things that you could do with that, but definitely knowing what celebration looks like to you is really important, because what celebration looks like to me may not be what celebration looks like to you. I do not want to go planning a camping trip. That's not exciting to me. That would not be a way to celebrate, a season well done.
Yeah, I know what you mean exactly, because sometimes when we are trying to adopt new habits and new thinking, we look at what others are doing and think this is what we ought to do too. And while it's good as a starting point and it's perfectly fine to explore different things until you know what works, it's an exploration, not you have to do it this way. And I think that is a very significant point to bring up, because it's a two-way thing. What is celebration for me is not for you, and I'm okay with how you choose to celebrate. If you want to do this, then that's your celebration. It's not for me. This is what I would like to do. And when it comes to relationships and so on, we do need to recognize that other people don't think the way we do. And so maybe a spouse, a partner, a child might choose to celebrate differently, and that's okay. It ought to be okay.
It might even break your heart when your child first chooses to celebrate their birthday with somebody that isn't their family. That first time is a real
Yeah.
kick in the butt.
Yeah.
But that's their choice. That's their life to live.
You
And that's them
know?
learning to be
Yeah.
independent, right? So
You
those
know?
are all.
What do you mean you don't want to be home?
Yeah. Or what do you mean you don't want Dad to go along? Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's some things are difficult because
Hmm.
we, it's all about us. And that's a very common thing. We get in that silo and it's all about us. And we forget that different people, what is it they say? Different strokes for different folks. And we really need to realize that when we come up against somebody, up against their living space, their life, we need to be sensitive and accept some things that we don't accept ourselves. We need to accept in them
Yeah.
and work on that.
Yeah.
I know I have been taught that by people that I work with, people that are in my family, and I've learned lessons difficultly. I don't suffer those things, easily, and but I do. I work through them, and as I've got older, I haven't got necessarily mellower, but I've got more observant. There's a word. Um, yeah, I've been able to um, see with different eyes, and as we work and grow and achieve and celebrate, because that's part of it, we then see things differently.
I'm
Yeah.
noticing the time, and I just wanted to toss it out there. A word that came up many times in relation with celebration, but also is a standalone thing that I don't think we've talked about, would be pause.
Mm.
Taking a pause,
Mhm.
taking a break. What is that? What does that look
Yeah.
like? And why is that important?
And
How's that
and
for next week's
Yeah.
topic?
and that can
Yep.
actually be a form of celebration. That's why it fits so well as a follow-on from this. Sometimes you just need
Yeah.
to pause. So that's
Yeah.
good. We'll do that as our topic for next week. And we are at the top of the hour. And thank you, everyone, the panel here today, all of us, for being here. We can celebrate our achievement and the number of sessions we've done going into the year now. We're moving forward, and we'll be back here next week, and we'll have more to celebrate. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.